Thinking out loud. The question is it better to go broad or is it better to go specific? Specialization or generalization? Generalization appeals to me because I like novelty and because I'm a student of life. There's always something to learn. Reading and writing. I learned more, I think, outside of school, getting out of school. I'm autodidactic. I like to learn on my own. That makes me prone to certain, maybe, we need other people as reference points. We're all little stones rolling down the creek, rubbing the rough edges off of each other to make one another smooth, to make one another refined. And so for that reason, I would often seek out opinions different than my own or befriend people that were, when I was a young evangelical Christian, I would befriend people that were atheists or people that were clowns or didn't take religion seriously. People of other religions. These people interested me not just because I felt like I liked to dialogue or I was concerned for them at the time, but because I generally am interested in the outlier, which makes me kind of an outlier. I like to map the territory. There in the background, the truck says maps. Maps. My buddy Carlos is like, Nick, those maps you draw, do you ever just like say, I'm good now? You know what I mean? Always remapping the territory, remapping territory, reinventing the wheel, which is why the Buddhist story hit me like a ton of bricks, is because it's not intended for us to reinvent the wheel really, even though he did at the time. It's not intended for us to reinvent the wheel. We got to put it back together. We got to remember, put the spokes in the wheel back together so that it can move a load heavier than its own. Talking to my pastor yesterday, he's good with dialogue. Gary's good with dialogue. He can hold space for different opinions while maintaining his own. He's more open-minded than people give him credit for. He's Socratic. He can ask questions. He can ask questions provocatively, but he can also listen. He can also listen and learn. And basically our question, as I've been kind of working through my faith in different ways, as my wife's been doing the same thing, is like, it's the framing issue. What do I do about other traditions if I believe other people are Christ followers in other traditions, or even in other religions? If there's merit, what do I do with that merit? What do I do with the good and those overlapping goods? Should I dismiss that? I'm trying to smuggle people. The door, the narrow way. The door, I am the door. No one gets to the Father except through me. I'm trying to smuggle people into the door in my mind. There are different ways to think about Christ, and for some people that like blows up. It introduces too much complexity. It's too disorganized, or it's not clear enough the way to Christ. But it's been a comfort to me to step back from how rigidly I thought of religion, because it allowed me to listen. I wasn't able to listen before to people. I wasn't able to really hear their perspective because the stakes were too high. Because of hell, the stakes were too high. And I still feel that way. I'm still trying to smuggle people in. I'm still on the borders, a border walker, a map maker. I speak multiple different languages per se in terms of philosophy. I can understand people. I'm an empath like my sister. And so the question really is for me recently, specificity or generalization. If you generalize too much, you draw the circle too big, you're a mile wide and an inch deep, right? I told my pastor, maybe I'm trying to learn every martial art at once, when really I should just box for a while. I should, like the Stoics. The Stoics have given me a bridge into Reformed Christianity, into Protestantism, because they depend so much on providence. They make it so clear that there are foundational principles that clearly we must abide by. There is a good, there is a God. And Epictetus would have had a lot less patience with me than my pastor. He would have, Nick, if you can't even acknowledge the foundational principles, I mean, how are we even having this conversation, And it's not so much that I doubt reality or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand what to do with the traditions. I want to smuggle more people in. I did have this thought, and I'm not exactly sure how to put it, but I did have this thought recently of okay, in one way, if Christ is everywhere, then why join any tradition? Okay, if the logos, if the foundation of reality is Christ and he's everywhere, then why should I join any tradition? How can I honestly exclude? On the other hand, if Christ is everywhere, I could look at it as a positive gateway. I could look at it as a positive instead of a lacking mindset. I could think, oh, Christ is everywhere, so I have to enter in somewhere. I'm about to run that by my pastor because I think that's good. If I could define myself as anything, it's a Christian existentialist, someone that has had an encounter, an experience with Christ. I know that's going to mean 100 different things to 100 different people. That's okay. It's meant things to me on different levels. That's the tradition I'm from. It's hard to shake it. But I know that I also don't know. The one thing I'm sure I know is that I don't know. And that I'm willing to start from the very ground level. That, for instance, reality is not tangible, perceivable. Like there's a structured order to things, and that has to come from some greater organizing principle. Christian existentialist. I know less than I don't know as much as. There's more I don't know than I do know. You know what I'm saying? But somehow I think Christ is at the foundation of that. And that there is good to be found in many places. If Christ is the logos, if he's the reasoning order of all things, if he's the reason why reality is intelligible, then he would be everywhere. So does that mean because he's everywhere, I choose not to choose a tradition? Or because he's everywhere, it's time to take a stance. And it's time to start somewhere. And maybe the way out is through. Maybe somehow the way out is through in that way. So that was what's on my mind this morning.